So, the next practice of stopping the internal dialogue.
Sure. So the next practice to counteract the first one, which were just observing thoughts but not really doing it, letting them go, right? So
Yeah.
observing, letting them go. Second practice is how to focus on a single thought. So you're going to try to keep that a single thought and keep your focus and concentration on that to the exclusion of everything else for an extended period of time. That's the idea.
And what does that actually like look like? Is that like keeping a certain idea in your head to the exclusion of all things, or a certain image, or a certain word, or like what do you?
Yeah, I mean, you could, there's a range, right? So you could start with all that. Like I learned it with a symbol.
Okay.
So, and something common to me. So like the number 3, black number 3 you could write it with a magic marker so it's wide enough for you to see, and like on a blue background. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
and so so just take a piece of cardstock or whatever it is. You could use it on a piece of paper, right? As long as you can kind of keep it flat in front of you so you can get a good view of it and memorize it. Obviously, it's something that you don't need to memorize too much. It's just that you're trying to memorize the form that you've drawn on there if you're going to use that visual reference of focus, right? And so you memorize, and when you do it, then you close your eyes. Once you have it, you close your eyes, and you're trying to hold that, number in place as a mental image without it changing or moving in any way. Don't let it get bigger or smaller, change colors, flip-flop, mirror image, any of that stuff. You're just trying to hold it exactly as you see it. Most people are able to do that for about, half a second in the beginning. And so, and so once that happens and you lose the image, then you open your eyes and you're looking at it again. And once you have it fixed, close your eyes and go back and try to do it again. Each time it should get a little bit better until you get so fatigued that your focus is wavering, right? So again, relaxing the body and staying relaxed, not trying to force it so much. You're just trying to hold it there. You're observing a single thing for an extended period of time without letting it change in any way. So then you can extend it to, some other image, or you could use, a word, that's sort of like, a mantra type of thing. It doesn't have to be repeated. It's just that it's there continuously to the exclusion of everything else. You could do it with an idea, right? So that it's just you're holding focus on an idea, which obviously is really beneficial in a lot of territories, right? I mean, people that are highly effective are able to focus on certain things for extended periods of time, right? So it's a good skill to have. And really a good skill to have for any of this work, right? Where it's really, especially when things aren't going according to plan or something, unusual comes up, it's very important to be able to focus on what you're doing and not let yourself be distracted into other things, right? So that's where people get tripped into, watching the phenomena that's happening around them rather than staying focused on what it is that they're doing to produce that phenomena. The phenomena is just a side effect. You don't want to make that the end goal. That's just stuff that you acknowledge and let go. You don't let it distract you. You stay on task, stay on focus for that. It's it seems like a very simple exercise, even simpler than the first one, but you'll find that it's actually more difficult to achieve because, without letting it change or shift is very difficult to sort of, you'll see how hard it is for your mind to focus on a single thing,
right,
for an extended period of time.
Now, when you had me first start this technique, one of the ways that we did it was in not just like looking at the thing and then trying to hold the mental picture of it inside, but also just like looking at something with eyes open and trying to keep unwavering attention on that thing.
Yep.
So that's like another stepping stone to doing this, right? It's
Sure.
like you could do it with anything, right? Like if you're sitting in the room that you're in right now, it's like, okay, there's a box of tissues or whatever. Can I just gaze at that fixedly and keep my mind, my attention on that thing to the exclusion of
everything else that's trying to grab your attention, grab energy from you. When something's grabbing your attention, it's grabbing energy from you, because as soon as your attention, no matter how slight, is locked onto it, you're feeding it energy.
Mm.
So there's got to be that energetic connection
Mm.
in order for you to even register that it's there.
Mm.
So, that's that part of that perceptual state. It's like I have to be entrained to it, even to a minor degree, to even acknowledge its existence.
Mm.
So, that's sort of that thing. So, to the exclusion of all of those things, you'll see that, as your focus becomes better and better, you're able to achieve more in your outer world, right? Because you have that. Believe me, even if you can focus on something for 5 minutes, you're going to be so much more effective in the other things that you do in the day that require your focus, that it's going to make it seem like it's that much easier. So is it really that much easier, or is it that you just have more reserves of energy and you're more efficient and effective at holding that focus and getting things done? You can just see how all of these things start to encompass everything that we do,
Yeah.
and every area of our lives, right? I mean, it's like, imagine, having 30% more time to do the work that you need to do at work, or, that you're able to achieve the workload that you normally achieve, but in 30% less time.
Sure.
That just makes your life easier, right? And so it's not so stressful, and you can either utilize that to do more, right, and achieve more, or you can use that to keep your reserves, and have more energy through the course of your day. And so then you can use that to, enhance your practice when you get home, or enhance your social life, enhance your, relationships and all of that. So your health,
Right.
There's lots of things that it sort of starts to push into, every territory of our life, basically.
So what's a good ultimate goal for being able to perform this exercise?
I mean, if you can hit 5 minutes, that's awesome. If you can do longer than that, then that's gold. So, up to, I mean, maximum, if you can hold something for 20 minutes, that would be, you're in the professional zone. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Eyes open or closed without distraction. So, yeah. So yeah. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's, it is simple, but it's not easy, right? So it will definitely take some focus on your point, obviously, to keep up with it and see those small increments of change as time goes on. And then again, first thing in the morning is the best, because then you'll have that sort of primer of focus for your day. And you go into your day, you're going to be able to sort of utilize that in the things that you do and make it more efficient, more effective for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And same protocol of good, better, best as last time.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, because focus, you are expending energy to do that, right? You're just choosing where you're going to send your energy to keep it in place, right? So, it's easier to become fatigued doing this exercise than the other.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah. So, you don't want to exhaust yourself. Don't push yourself too far. But if you have to, like, let's say you're just going to do 5 minutes, or you're going to practice for 5 minutes. You're not going to hold it for 5 minutes, but you're going to practice for 5 minutes. So, but it's, say that it's, you're only able to hold that symbol. If we're using a symbol, you're only going to be able to hold that symbol for, a couple seconds. And then you open your eyes and sort of engage it again, and then, close your eyes and try to hold that until it starts to shift. And then you immediately come out of it, because you're trying to train your subconscious to say, I don't want it to shift. I only want to hold this as long as I can hold it stable. And that's it, without changing. So as soon as it starts to change, I don't want to entertain that. I don't want to try to get it back. I'm forcing it at that point. I open my eyes and tell myself, I'm going to see this. I'm going to hold this image of the number 3 in my mind with eyes closed, perfectly the way that it is that I see it right now. Black on a blue background, or whatever it is, right? And as soon as I do that, and as soon as it starts to shift, I open my eyes. So that way, my subconscious has a very clear idea of what I want and what I don't want. And so there's no ambiguity there. But as you do it, it's going to get longer and longer. But if in that time, you start to really get fatigued and it gets worse instead of better, then just stop, and pick it up the next day or in a couple days or whatever it is. So you don't want to do these things to the point of exhaustion. It's not about exhausting yourself on them. It's about enhancing yourself using these practices. Yeah.
So for people like, so if somebody was going to do this exercise like exactly as you described it, take a little card, paint it blue or whatever, draw a black 3 on it with a magic marker, put it in front of them, sit there for 5 minutes doing this exercise. If they gaze at the card or the symbol, right? In this case, the symbol is just the 3, to keep it really simple and focused on just the fact of the exercise and not the meaning of the symbol or whatever. Right. We want to put that aside.
Put it aside.
But like when you're doing that, if you gaze at the 3 and then you close your eyes, but you don't see it at all, like how long do you give yourself to see if that's going to come online before you open your eyes again to give yourself that command again and gaze at it? And
and just so that we're clear on the terminology, I wouldn't technically gaze at it. I'm going to focus on it.
I see. Right, because gazing is
focus.
diffuse.
That's the diffuse, like no focus.
Right.
This is focus. So I really want to pinpoint that and really burn it into, my mind. And so usually when it's like that, you'll get even an after image in your eyes when you close your eyes. If you look at it long enough, if you don't have to like, stare at it and burn a hole through it or anything, but
lasers on.
Lasers on, that's right. But you want to be able to pinpoint it and really, kind of make it very clear in your mind. I think most people can do that when they close their eyes, even for a second.
That they get an after image.
They get an after image, and so, even for that, it's like, okay, then I superimpose that it's black over it if it's not already, and on a blue background, and then if it starts to shift, I open my eyes and do it again, and each time it'll get longer and longer and longer, and you're going to be good at that point.
So even though the after image that's appearing behind closed eyes right when you close your eyes, even though that after image is not the goal necessarily, the original image to appear in your mind is the goal.
Right.
You're using that as a
template.
As a template to then like
color it in.
Fill it in. But if it's not happening, then open your eyes
and go back to it again.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
And you'll see that that's a nice, easy stepping stone to get into that.
Right.
Especially for people that maybe have a hard time visualizing.
Yeah.
And if it's really, if visualizing isn't your thing, then use it with a word or use it with a phrase. How can I do that to the exclusion of everything else? Mm-hmm. So it's the same idea, right? I'm holding a certain idea in my head or, whatever until that, I can think of all kinds of things. It doesn't, and again, it shouldn't be something that, you don't have to find some philosophical statement or whatever
it doesn't have to be a Zen koan.
No. In fact, you want to try to find things that don't have what I would consider like a moral value to them, because then it's going to be like, I couldn't hold it, I'm not good. You want to get something that's just so neutral that it doesn't matter. You could use the word truck or bear or river or whatever. It's just something. You could use your name. And that's a very effective way to do it too. And so you just want to be able to hold that and focus on that so that you can, keep it, again, to the exclusion of all other things. And anything that comes up from that, you're letting it go. You're just holding that there, right? And see how that does for you. Keep working at it, because this one, again, it's simple but not easy.
Yeah,
it can be very frustrating, especially when you realize exactly how short your attention span is.
Right. Yeah.
It's a little demoralizing at first. It's like, be grateful nobody's there to that can know. That
nobody has a monitor.
Nobody has a monitor on you. We haven't developed that yet.
Yeah.
I had a monitor, so it was like, my teacher was like, yep. Done. It was like, you close your eyes, you better get your eyes closed. Up, done. It was like, next. So it was like, oh my God, so frustrating. There was no fooling it. You couldn't even lie to yourself. It was constantly being beaten over your head that you were, just, deficient. So it's
So
funny.
you'd be doing this exercise, and he'd be standing there, and you'd be doing it, and he'd go, nope, nope.
Done. That's what he would say. Done. 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 You know, it's like he just, and it felt like sometimes I would just, like he would say done the minute I closed my eyes.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
like,
right, right.
Like, close your done, done, done. It was awful. I'm sure it wasn't quite that bad, but it felt like it was that bad. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, no, I was holding. You want to argue? You
Yeah.
know, like, no, I was holding it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you weren't.
And he was able to,
He could see it.
he could see that.
He could see
from
that
seeing
my
the energy.
from seeing the energy, could see that my energy fluctuated enough that I wasn't able to hold that. Yeah,
Wow. That's
because
really
you
cool.
become more stable, right? Your energy becomes more stable. That's the part of focus that's there. When somebody's focused on something, their energy is extremely stable at that moment. When it's all over, erratic, all over the place, it's like they're being bombarded and frazzled. You know, so it's definitely one of those things that's easiest to see.
So he could literally see your energy,
It was
and
like,
he could
you know,
see
it's
the
like,
stability of it when
while I'm looking at it,
yeah.
and then I would close my eyes to do it, and it'd be, I'm sure it went like crazy, and he was like, done. I'd be like, no. It was awesome.
Not again!
Not again. You know, it's like, so, you know, so it really was like a celebration when I could get 5 seconds.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
I was like,
totally.
yeah. And now I have a good picture of what that is. It's like, but in the beginning was totally frustrating.
Okay, good. I'm not alone.
Oh, God. I'm one of the worst models. So it's like, you know, just, yeah. It's like I made more mistakes than anyone I can think of. So it's like, it's just, and had to work really hard at most things, you know. And so, and stabilize the things that I naturally did well. Because just because you naturally do it well doesn't mean you have control over it. So, you know, that stability factor is even sometimes more frustrating. But yeah, so there's nobody that just sort of cakewalks into this. You know, it's like, and if they tell you they do, where are the results, right? What's your life like? You know, how stable are all those areas in your life that you want stable? You know, are they or are they not? You know, so I mean, it's looking at the results that tell you, you know, what is the end result of doing all these things. You know, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
On to the next one.
On to the next.